Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our celebration of the 250th harvest of the 𝐯𝐬𝐬𝐬 family. We are in an extraordinary venue with extraordinary people, so a round of applause. Welcome. Also because I am on a fantastic stage and it sounds like I'm a rock star, I want to say welcome to this side as well, and thanks and welcome to the authorities. There's many people who are here. I also would like to say hello to all the foundation members, the Masi family, and the people from the company. There are lots of people who are following us on the social channels, Instagram, Facebook, by Masi Wine or Masi website. So hello to them all as well as those who are our friends on 𝐯𝐬𝐬𝐬. It's not the first time I'm here, but tonight it's peculiar because we have two events into one. It's a special evening. The first one is the 250th anniversary of the first 𝐯𝐬𝐬𝐬 family wine harvest in the Valle dei Masi. This is an event that reaffirms our close connection with the local area and with the Veneto culture and underpins the history of the Masi business and the Masi prize as well. This year, in a special edition, which from the earliest days has acted as an ambassador of the world of the Veneto region and its specialities. This is the 40th anniversary. Of course, I'm somewhat moved as well because this is a special venue, very special indeed. This is the new Masi Monteleone 21 venue in Gargagnano di Valpolicella, but that's all I'll say for the moment. We'll talk more about that later on this evening. I'll give you a housekeeping information for those who wish to post content on this event on social channels. Please, you can do so, but if you send a tweet or send a post on Facebook, etc., use please hashtag Masi, M-A-S-I, 250. So we will become a worldwide community altogether. Now, at this time, I want to start the celebration by launching a video about this unique history of 250 years of wine harvests, family and business as well. Between a bunch of grapes and a glass of Amarone, there is a long history. There are 250 harvests looked after by the same family, the 𝐯𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 family. The 𝐯𝐬𝐬𝐬s handed down a duty protecting and respecting the land of Valpolicella Classica. This way, the raising process was valued and tradition had given its future. Wine culture becomes art. Amarone gains an international breath, and taste becomes pleasure. Passion becomes vision. So, a humble bunch of grapes becomes history.
Masi,
da 250
For
anni,
250
scegliamo il futuro.
years, we've chosen our future. Well, a round of applause, really. They deserve all this. This is an extraordinary video as well, because it's not easy to summarize 250 years of wine harvests. But I want to invite the president of Masi and the deputy president of the Masi Foundation, Mr. Sandro Boscaini, on stage here with me. Well, this is a triumph, a tribute. Well, enjoy, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, this is 250 years, a wonderful venue, and the details will be discovered and unveiled in a few minutes. Congratulations. Yes, 250 years. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you, my family, my brother Mario and Bruno. We're all here to celebrate this festive event. I have to admit, I'm rather moved because I have a number of feelings going through. First and foremost, because I remember when my father and I and my brothers were kids, really. You know, in 1972, the 200-year anniversary, and my father at that time wanted to do something special. It wasn't a party as this one, but there were friends and clients at that time. You know, it was Italian wine, and the internationalization was about to begin, and there were, of course, guests from abroad, as much as the many that we are hosting today here. But my father celebrated by opening the seasoning cave where we had our prize just a few minutes back. So we wanted to leave a mark behind, which is the future image, to leave a mark that looks at the new wine business. The new wine business is a business we have to indeed manage as producers. It's a storytelling, but not as you see and watch on TV, etc. Storytelling means bring here our consumers, maybe our final consumers, rather than us, the people in the trade, and they have to experience our land, our territory. And in order for us to do so, what we need is a place where to meet here. And they have to be close to our vineyards, our caves, our cellars, where you have people who love wine. And I have to say that when a few months back we had the great honor to have President Draghi here, he came because I wrote a letter to him saying exactly what I'm telling you, and saying that our land is magnificent and everyone can say so, and give visitors an exceptional feeling. And through wine tasting, food tasting, storytelling by people who are part of the trade, etc., they give you the chance of falling in love with Italy, of falling in love with our region, with our place, with our villages. And I was pointing all this out to the then Prime Minister. And many of you, I believe, were here because this happened during the COVID period. I see the Senator for Life, Mrs. Elena Cattaneo. She deserves a round of applause as well. Sorry if I just took this diversion just to say hello to one of our guests and a friend, as well as an authority. Now, I was saying I wanted to send a letter to the then Prime Minister Draghi because, it's all very well to say we live off tourism, wine tourism in particular, agricultural tourism, etc. But we need a backbone. We need structures. We need infrastructures. And we need connections as well. And I quoted the example of the prize awarding ceremony at Pieve di San Giorgio. Many of you are familiar with it. It's a fantastic village, one of the many in Italy. And yet we had to spend a lot of money in order to have portable phones working because they didn't work. We had to place antenna to be able to have the event being broadcast and to have, bulbs work in the church. So I said, Mr. Prime Minister, it's really pointless for us to undertake a commitment if this commitment is not being shared by all of us. We cannot move a vineyard into a city because in a city you have infrastructures. Infrastructures have to be moved where the vineyards are, and vineyards are scattered all over Italy. And he said, yes, he's agreed with me. He said to me, next time I come to Verona, we will talk about it. And he came and visited, and we talked about it. And our friend and our governor, Mr. 𝐯𝐬𝐬, was there, as well as other authorities. Just to say that the new frontier of the wine business is not an add-on, but it's just a need that goes along the line of modernizing our approach to wine growing and the wine trade. The other day I was in Torbe. Torbe is a very tiny little village with 300 inhabitants. They probably never saw a visitor unless those coming from America at the end of the Second World War and went through there to go towards Germany. And I was told by the people there, they come from all over the world and they sit down and to look at the enchanted valley. This is a message. We have to set up infrastructures. That's why we have built up this venue. Those who come here fall in love with the wine and then they purchase it in a venue, if you allow me to say so, in a venue. And I'm sorry, I do apologize, because we wanted to celebrate this evening here tonight because we wanted you to experience. And this is a yard. It's not our fault. This is because of COVID, and therefore the works were being delayed together with all the other problems, inclusive of the fact that it's not easy today to have whatever you need for fixtures, etc. So we're running approximately 1 year late, but myself, as well as the Masi board of directors, as well as my brothers, wanted to host this event here because we wanted very strongly. But this is an extraordinary venue. So I have to, I'm sorry, I work for a radio station, and I know it's, terrible, but I have to kind of invite you to sum up. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about 1772. Yes, the whole thing begins in 1772. We have a very young guy, a 15-year-old guy, 1755. This was his birth year. Giobbatta Boscaini, who was sent by his family. They were already owners of vineyards here. He was sent to look after a small parcel owned by the baker in Negrar up on the hill, and every week he used to walk or ride his donkey and go to look after the vineyard and come back. And his son, Giacomo, continued along. The nephew, Giuseppe, was smarter. Let's look at them because we start seeing the faces here. This is the great-grandfather, Giuseppe, and this gentleman, together with his mother-in-law, to be, you see, she was a bourgeois lady, and she married Mr. Bonagli, who was a baker and did not look after the vineyard. The vineyard was almost abandoned, and they just had a daughter, one daughter, a single daughter, and she said, well, you purchase all the various parcels of lands, and through the marriage, the estate become the Masi estate, at least higher up on the hill, and then became part of the Masi estate. And this is my grandfather. Together with father, they moved from Torbe down to Marano, to exactly Vagliatara di Marano, and that's very interesting. They moved the year before, opening the railway line connecting Verona from Lake Garda, because they had the chance of being better organized in their trade. Higher up in the hills, it was more difficult. And then Paolo's sons, my father, my uncle, and the third uncle as well, over the war, they looked after the company, and they indeed went on with a better organization. This is father and mother, with our father and our mother, of course, and that's myself when I was a kid, you know. Do you recognize him? Come here. Come here, Mr. Chairman. Well, look at the audience. I wasn't actually yet wearing spectacles. This is Mario, who's here with us. It was another nice little kid, Bruno, and my brother Sergio. My brother Sergio wanted to leave the company, but that happened many years ago. So this is a short history of our family. Look at this splendid snapshot. We started with a vineyard. We stayed with a vineyard, and there was in parallel the development of the family and the mythical Vaio di Masi, because it's a myth in terms of both venue and the extraordinary quality of our wine. So Vaio di Masi, name the label as well as company, and our company is now being listed at the stock exchange. And here we are. We have the three brothers plus my son and daughter, and Bruno's son and daughter as well. And to end with this splendid image. And here, this is another family picture that was being taken not long ago. We have also 4 generations as well as an add-on. That is, we are going to talk about him as well, our managing director, because given that we are now listed at the stock exchange, you need also collaboration from people who joined our company, but we want them to have the same family feeling and corporate feeling as well. Yes, but this mention of the Vaio dei Masi has become something of a myth. No one has ever seen this Vaio dei Masi, or very few people. Let's talk about it. So this is rather interesting, because my father actually wanted it to be plastered on a front door, and here it says 1772. This is a baby angel, and my father used to say that my grandfather and great-grandfather, when they moved from Torbe, took this with themselves because this marked the entry point to our estate. Here we are. 𝐷𝐬𝐬 by itself tells you something of an ancestral name. You have also here the mayors of the area. 𝐷𝐬𝐬 means those dry streams which actually have water, running water, only when it rains. And they go into the major stream in between Marano and the other two valleys. Here you get 𝐷𝐬𝐬 di Masi on the right-hand side, and here you have another branch of 𝐷𝐬𝐬 called Mezzanella, and this is our estate, Campo Longo di Torbe. This is the central area, which is actually the central 𝐷𝐬𝐬 di Masi, and then Mezzanella. Now, we can say that eventually we saw it. I'm pleased, I'm pleased because unless you visit it, you don't understand. This is a microclimate, a particular exposure created by erosion, creating the cruise that enrich this area. Wherever you have a 𝐷𝐬𝐬, you're sure that you're going to have a great wine. So congratulations, I know that there are two important books, one by 𝐯𝐬𝐬 Bocconi titled Amarone and Beyond, Masi 250 Years of Harvests, Family and Business. And I'm more familiar with this because this was produced by Matteo Caccia by Radio 24. We may say, for instance, the cover of this podcast in 8 episodes. Well, things happen, In this specific case, when it comes to the book, I always wanted to put something black on white. My father used to tell me stories, and my granddad lived with me until I was 19, and he talked about his own grandfather, who was the second generation, and he was talking about Giobata, how Giobata went to work on the estate, etc. And I wanted to play my own role and give my own contribution to tradition and this, story and storytelling of what happened, because I wanted to pass on the love for our land and our roots, because without roots you don't have a plant, and without a plant you don't have a future, and we wanted to keep all this alive. So I put down and scribbled down a few notes, and this was also a doctoral project that was being drafted by a young student in 1993. He got a degree in history of economics, and the subject matter was our company and the history of our family, and then a few more details, stories from my granddad, my father, etc. And then this was by chance. It was truly by chance, because we found ourselves having a round table in the city of Vicenza with Antonio Calabrò, the writer and journalist, and man of publishing industry, and I told him about it, and I said, well, 𝐯𝐬𝐬 indeed wants all this and will be very eager to publish it. And now I believe it's going to be distributed next week. So it was an honor for me and for Masi to be able to have this as well. And then we have the podcast that you can listen on all platforms. And this was another project that we have launched together with my collaborators, and they were right, because also this has been very much appreciated. These are 9 episodes. We talk about the Amarone, our grapes, the territory history, etc. It's good for us, it's good for the product, it's good for the territory, and give you also a very current approach on the way you tell and you talk about history. And on the Masi website and Spotify, etc., they're already available. And when the book will be released, we are going to organize maybe a special event. I wanted to have it right now, tonight, but, you know, they said to me, well, probably end of October, etc. So I believe that the book is over, and I shall send a copy of this book to all of you, given that you've been so kind to be here tonight to honor this celebration, this anniversary celebration. So it's a small token I want to give you all. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much indeed, because from history and from the past, we want to give the floor to Mr. Federico Girotto, the Managing Director of Masi. Thank you very much, and welcome, Federico. Welcome, and because from the very, very long history, we come to the present time and the future. So what about the present and future? So starting from the history, our task today is to preserve the past in a dynamic way. So, for instance, trying to look for growth in approximately 140 countries where we work, and also expanding our product range of wines, as we have done. Of course, focused on Amarone, but we have rosés, sparkling wines, etc. This is a strategic project called Fresco di Masi. Two wines, a red wine and a white wine, but it's a new concept, and I'll tell you more. First of all, we want to have a very low distance, and second, sustainability. And this is a project that entails a number of trends. As far as the label is concerned, we want to strengthen the stability of our name, and therefore have a premium identity, and of course mark the region, because we are identified as being a wine producer in the Veneto region. And then the dynamic development of our brand. Of course, it has to be focused on wine, but also with new further products and further ideas, and moving on to the lifestyle business, for instance, the Masi Wine Experience. Now, yes, Masi Wine Experience means what? It's a strategic macro project with the function of actually getting in touch with our final consumers, to give them two advantages. First, to have them taste more than 50 wines, which are part of our product range. Second, be able to become familiar with the brand values behind our name, so the value of a family and of a territory. How do we do that? Fundamentally with four tools. Our central team dealing with promotion, communication, business to consumption, and business to business, and then we do it with our Enoteca Masi, our Chapeau Online. It's a good instrument for communication, but also service to consumers. And then we have the Masi Master Club. We have lots of stakeholders. It's an experiential container having devoted to those who have at least 1,000 Masi stakes, and so they have an experience in terms of their investment. I am the owner of the cellar, so I have to have some product lines devoted and special for me. And the fourth is the Masi Wine Experience venues. These are some single brands in some estates. We have opened up the doors of our estates, and so we take our consumers to visit. In other cases, it's the wine going where the consumers are. Valpolicella Classica, Lago di Garda, Canavella Valleobbiadone, Argentina Prolungato, and outdoor as a point. And the last one, the Maximilianstrasse, which is the luxury street in Munich. So here we are with Monteleone 21 at the core of the experience. So Monteleone 21, we said this, and it's a myth. It's like the Vaio di Masi, because at this point we want to know more about this beautiful venue. Let us start from the name. Why Monte Leone? Because the small hill, we are on top of a small hill. It doesn't look like, but it is, and it's been called Via Monteleone. 21 is, of course, the venue where we are, and then the iconography is the Lion of Saint Marco, mark of the Republic of Venice, and also because a legend tells that within this hill there was the head of a golden lion buried somewhere. So we are going to have a treasure hunting. But we created this Monteleone with the help of a team of experts many years ago. We started with architect Libero Cecchini from Valpolicella, a great Italian architect who rebuilt Verona after the war, and very famous because he used stone, together with his son Vittorio and Giovanna Mar from the Venetian firm, together with architect Beghini, specialized in special tourist buildings, and sustainability is key for them, because here we have a great deal of sustainability. I believe that one can watch pictures of this venue. So with photovoltaic energy and geothermal agencies, so we have cross ventilation, so we have a system whereby you can have a natural ventilation, and you have the small hill covered with vegetation, perfectly integrated into the landscape of Valpolicella. So you have 1/3 outside the land, 2/3 are below, and you remember the Marogne, the stone walls that are typical of Valpolicella, which is another tribute to the territory, and this great pit of light, which is where we are. This is a central core, and there is this other structure that recalls the great Italian architecture in the 50s and 60s, where shape met with structure. And then we have a monumental vineyards. It's 12-meter high, for drying of grapes, and that's the Fruttaio. It's a monument to the Amarone. It's a special cellar. And last but not least, there is another important element. Let us not look at Monteleone 21 as a new open cellar by Masi. It is also a portal to have access to the area of Valpolicella Classica and culture. We will host Amarone from other colleagues as well, and we would like also to increase the number of jobs and have a professional biodiversity. With this spirit, after 250 years of history, Masi and the Boscaini family launched this important project. Congratulations, a round of applause to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Federico Girotto.
Now that we are talking about a house and welcoming people, I want to go back to the Boscaini family with Raffaele Boscaini, who is head of marketing. Well, Federico told us about this wonderful location, which is part of the tradition in that it is a welcoming location. What is the emotion of welcoming your guests after 2.5 years? Well, welcoming people has to do with what we do every day in our houses, in our homes, when we unbottle wine. And of course, you do this with your family members, with guests, with friends, like we have today. So you welcome people like this. Welcoming people is, thanks God, something that belongs to my family, to all the families here, and probably all the families in the world. So I have very good memories of when I was a child, always connected to Masi, to the wine, when my father very often brought importers, distributors, and sellers of wine. He brought them home, and my mother used to cook, or my grandma used to cook. And so we were waiting, we were looking forward to these meetings. There was a big man, I remember, who came from the US, and so it was peculiar to us. And he used to come and eat tortelli made of pumpkin, made by my grandma, who came from Mantua, where this was a traditional food. Well, this tradition is going on also with Masi One Experience, because, like my father said, we have the need to integrate and connect our consumers to the magic of our wine and the beautiful experience. Okay, congratulations and thank you very much, Mr. Raffaele Boscaini, and thank you very much for opening up a window on the welcoming tradition. Now, we have come to the second important event of this evening. We have two events in one, because we need to talk about the 41st Masi Prize, which leads us once again to talk about tourism and wine tourism. I would like to welcome the prize winners of the last 41 years. And it is now the time to say hello to all the members of the foundation, the jury, and members of the board who are here with us. But let me invite the presidential committee of the foundation, starting from Mrs. Isabella Bossi Fedrigotti, the vice chairman Sandro Boscain, and the secretary Marco Vigevani, to join me on the stage. Welcome again. Well, let's start again from Sandro Boscaini on another story, 41 Masi prizes. Sandro Boscaini has the microphone. This is an important tradition. This is a tradition going back to the first prize, which was delivered in 1981, 41 years ago. And it was a dramatic time for Italy. I'm sure that most of you will remember. We used to say, you can do wine even without grapes. Of course, it was not that, because you cannot make wine without grapes. But there is no doubt that on the Italian territory, the wine was really treated badly, and we paid the consequences with the issue of methanol. This inability of doing things well of certain people, not all, brought about the tragic time of methanol in a period when our culture as wine makers was at risk, really, was endangered. But from that time onwards, there was a rebirth that we had brought ahead, really. We had our vineyards. We couldn't sell wine because it was not profitable compared with what was being sold around. And so some of our friends told us, well, don't get depressed. You have to state that your assets in terms of wine and winemaking and vineyards doesn't have to envy anything of the Venetian culture in terms of art, literature, and entrepreneurship. So take Amarone, and Amarone will award your products.
And here we have the prize. The prize had an extraordinary history. Let's see. Here we are. Some of the people who were awarded the prize. You have Ottavio Missoni, Mr. Benetton, extraordinary people. Hugh Johnson, for instance. And here we are in 1996 with Philippine de Rothschild. And you have something peculiar. The signature of the barrel. We do that in reminiscence of something which was natural and very relevant when I was a kid. We have the buyers. At that time, we would not call them buyers. They would come and purchase wine, and they would taste the various barrels, and they said, well, I like number 72, and they signed it because this was the way they wanted them. So they had 10, 20, or 30. They were barrels of 700 liters, and then they were being delivered to Innsbruck in Vienna or in Germany or elsewhere, etc. So it was a signature. So the signature is really the mark of our prize. We have lots of people who were awarded the Masi Prize. And I just wanted to say that there has been an evolution, a growth. The initial prize was called Prize to Venetian Civilization, but we also wanted to award this international prize to the person of the wine this year, which we have done this year, and we will see later on who's the winner is. And then Mr. Volcic, when he was the chairman of this foundation before Isabella, to invent another prize. And this was at a time when the Berlin Wall fell. In Europe, people wanted to be hugged. And so we thought, why not having a prize uniting peoples and testifying brotherhood and having a social aspect of loving each other? And so we started to award a prize to the mythical president of the Federal Republic of Germany, Mr. Gensch, and then the first president of Slovenia, etc., and many others. And so it's been a true vision which continues, isn't it, Isabella, with a great pleasure. So I'd like to involve Mrs. Isabella Fedrigotti, the chairwoman. Why? Well, together with the members of the jury, we wanted to tackle the issue of how to celebrate this 250 years of the family. We wanted people to remember this special edition. And so we thought that one great prize is worth more than three prizes. These are not, of course, smaller prizes, because I was awarded a prize as well. But we have thought, if we concentrate on just one awardee, maybe, we will have something peculiar on the list of the people who were awarded this prize. And so we have chosen two institutions because we're really proud to belong to Mother Earth. So Marco Vigevani, we have two institutions which won the prizes. Yes, as our chairwoman said, we wanted to mark this extraordinary event of the 250th anniversary with two prizes, the civilization of wine, the culture of wine, and the culture of the Venetian region. They represent two institutions. One is a very ancient one and another one more recent, and both of them have to do with our history in historical background as a Masi Prize, although this is a special evening. Now, we have a great deal of curiosity, so the time has come to discover who is being awarded a prize. We're introducing the prize awarding ceremony with a video. Citation for the engagement in sustaining health and prosperity connected to wine community and tourism in 11 capitals of many wine-growing excellent areas, acknowledged for the prestige of production and notoriety of their own products, internationally sold, uniting the history of European wine with the New World, and being the banner of wine culture. The international prize Grosso d'Oro Veneziano is Great Wine Capitals Global Network, and I call upon stage Madame Catherine Parmentier-Daillon. Welcome. I have to say hello also to Mrs. Marina Fracchia, who kindly helped us in the translation. Congratulations, first of all. And tell us more about this global network, what it is all about. We're very much interested, in particular, because Verona is part of an Italian capital.
Thank you. Yes. So the Great Wine Capitals Global Network was initiated 23 years ago on a Bordeaux Chamber of Commerce idea. From 6 founding members, we are now 11 great wine capitals spread around the world on 5 continents, 2 hemispheres. We have in common the excellence of our wine industry, and we share this idea of greatness together. We are sharing, what gathers us is definitely the common cultural asset that we have, which is our prestigious wines.
La nostra rete, la grande rete globale delle capitali del vino, è iniziata 23 anni fa con un'idea basata su un'idea proposta da una Camera di Commercio. Eravamo 6 capitali all'inizio, adesso siamo in 11 su 5 continenti. Abbiamo qualche cosa di comune che appunto condividiamo, e cioè l'idea dell'eccellenza. Condividiamo anche l'idea della grandezza, ma non solo questo, anche la cultura del vino.
Parliamo di enoturismo. Dopo 2 anni di difficoltà.
Let's talk about wine tourism. After a couple of years of difficulties, numbers are back to normal. Are we optimistic about it?
Yes, definitely. I think we want to say first that the wine tourism is a niche in the big tourism industry.
Beh sì, senz'altro, stiamo ritornando a quei numeri, però dobbiamo sempre tenere presente che questo è un turismo di nicchia.
But it has been a very resilient niche during the COVID period of time.
Ma è una nicchia che si è rivelata veramente molto resiliente anche durante il periodo della pandemia.
Of course, wineries had to keep the contact with their customers, with their visitors when it was not possible to travel.
Naturalmente bisogna tenere i contatti con i propri clienti, con i propri visitatori quando i viaggi ci vengono preclusi.
And they have shown the best innovations that we would never have thought before, like reorganization for most of them of online sales, virtual wine tastings, etc. These are tools that are now ready to use again, and that can be used on a regular season, but can also be used when visitors are not coming in the wineries. I say like counter seasons, wintertime. People are traveling less to the wine region than the seasons, but you can still keep contact with them through these tools that have been implemented thanks to the COVID crisis.
Ma la crisi pandemica ha avuto anche dei risvolti molto positivi. In fondo siamo stati forzati a introdurre delle innovazioni alle quali non avremmo mai pensato se questa tragedia, in un certo senso, non fosse mai successa. Abbiamo introdotto delle novità come l'assaggio dei vini virtuale, anche contatti in linea che possiamo tranquillamente continuare ad usare nei periodi dell'anno come quello invernale in cui i viaggi sono ridotti per questioni climatiche.
Beh, davvero complimenti. Allora a questo punto siamo al momento della premiazione. Io voglio chiamare sul palco anche il vicepresidente della...
The prize awarding, the Deputy President, Mr. 𝐌𝐚𝐬𝐿, and together with the Mayor of Verona, Mr. Damiano Tommasi, and Mr. Paolo Arena, the Chairman of the Promotional and Tourism Commission, will be here. So Mayor Paolo Arena, if possible, will award the prize to Madame Catherine 𝐻𝐿. Please come forward to award Madame the prize. And she was supporting the entry of Verona globally. Thank you. And Mayor, Mr. Damiano Tommasi, if we have a microphone, can I please give the microphone to the Mayor, Mr. Damiano Tommasi, because it is really with pride that Verona is part of this network. Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you you very much for the invitation. I believe that Verona, as well as its wine, have a couple of things in common, and they speak by themselves. There is no need for much storytelling about us. I understand that, Verona really speaks for itself. Wine, Valpolicella, Amarone are indeed very famous, and I believe also this tells you how precious our territory is, and I feel this responsibility. And there are lots of great ambassadors like the Boscaini family on behalf of our territory, this leaves us sin palabras, speechless, that it is, this is something precious, because I don't want to add more to this fantastic endeavor, and we can say it with pride, and everyone here at Verona must be proud to have the Boscaini family, as well as many other excellent ambassadors of this territory. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So I would invite the committee to please stay on stage, and I thank Mr. Damiano Tomasi, Mr. Paolo Arena, the Deputy President, and the Chairwoman. And please, time has come to discover the second prize awardee, and we shall introduce this prize with a video.
The vestry board of St. Mark's Cathedral is a board that we find traces of in the documents from around the 9th century AC. It is a board governed by the St. Mark's procurators. They were called super ecclesia, the only magistrate office, in addition to the doge, lasting for their whole life. St. Mark's Procuratoria was concerned with the building, the ornaments, and the changes in the church, and now with the conservation of the extraordinary St. Mark's Cathedral, the church tower, and other assets. It is in charge of the projects and works in St. Mark's Cathedral, the church tower, and other assets. It is a fragile cathedral because the next year it'll be 1,000 years since the consecration of the basilica, which was already built and partially decorated. 1,000 years are not just a few for any building. We need to keep in mind that St. Mark's Cathedral is located in the lowest area of Venice, and it is used to be flooded by high tides with increasing frequency. Until 2019, the intervening works prevented tides of 85 to 87 centimeters from getting into the church. Just to give you an idea, in the last few years before this first defense was put in place, there used to be approximately 110, 120 floods in the external ground and internal narthex. Very many works are underway in the cathedral. The loss of cultural heritage doesn't just concern monuments, but also the historical texture of the town, for instance. And when something goes lost, it is lost forever. Not only because you cannot see it anymore, but because it cannot be studied either. For its high representation of the iconic monument of Venice, combined with its commitment to conserving and valorizing the Basilica of San Marco, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and promoting cultural and museum projects of the highest quality, for being an emblem of Veneto culture. The International Grosso d'Oro Veneziano Prize goes to the Procuratoria of the Basilica of San Marco. The prize is collected by the procurator, Bruno Barrel. Welcome, Mr. Barrel. Mario Piana explained the charming, fascinating history of this institution. After the Doge of Venice, it was the lifelong office which is still recognized by the Italian government. Well, you conserve this monument that doesn't need any introduction, really. We talked about fragility, its fragility, due also to climatic change. Well, thank you very much to the Boscaini family, the Masi, to the Boscaini family and the Masi Foundation, and it is an honor and a privilege to be here. And we are 7 with Mr. Carlo Alberto Tesserin, who unfortunately couldn't come today due to health reasons. And he is now devoting his old age to this passion of conserving the document and conveying his passion to us. And he reminded us that not even Napoleon stopped our Procuratoria. And we kept the same name, and it is not a religious board, it is a civil board. We are appointed by the Defense Ministry in agreement with the Patriarch. It is an asset of the church, but also of the community. And we are faced with a challenge, which is defending this piece of this monument, this piece of art, defending it from the pressure of tourism, defend it against time passing. And so we have a structure of 60 employees and external people who are still able to take care of mosaics, and we also have experts for the lead, which is used in the marble. We have a mosaic workshop in the porch of Santa Apollonia, where we have artists called workers, but they are actually artists who preserve and conserve old knowledge. We have a library with all the studies, the drawings, and all the works. We know everything that has been done over the course of time. Now, this heritage is of all of us, and we are now faced with a number of challenges. First of all, after a restoration, after the high tide, we are trying to restore and conserve after the high tide and the seawater coming into the church. And also we have external works going on. You have seen that in St. Mark's Square, there are works going on. They are the start of a journey. They are a temporary barrier to avoid that high tides over 88 centimeters and lower than 130 centimeters get into the church. We are studying innovative techniques in order to avoid water to come from the tubes underneath St. Mark's Square. So it is an effort to stop the seawater coming from the canals and underground paths. Well, the government is helping us lately, especially thanks to the former Prime Minister, Mr. Draghi. We are starting also new work, so we are really sorry for the discomfort this is causing. And we try to allow religious ceremonies to take place, but also we want the church, the cathedral, to remain open for all the visitors to visit. We are changing the internal lighting system, and we also started offering a new emotion. So if you want to visit St. Mark's Cathedral during the night and be lighted for you, you are all invited, and the Boscaini is first. So now we have Mr. Cafagna, the prefect of Verona, to hand the prize. We can proceed with the awarding of the prize. Ready for the picture. It is time to take a picture. Actually, I wanted to do something a little different. Perhaps Mrs. 𝐬𝐬 could reach us, could join us on the stage to have a picture together. The 41st prize. So, we have all the winners, 2 instead of 5 as usual, and they are all here for the picture of all the people together. Thank you very much. Please take your seats again, because we have seen who the awards went to, and let's go back to the 250th anniversary. Many of you come from all over the world. Now, to know more about the 250th anniversary, let's go back to the 7th Boscaini generation, Alessandra and Giacomo Boscaini. Here they go. Head of Sales, Alessandra. We are here, 250 years. You are the one who called the people one by one from all over the world to come here. Was it complicated? No. I have to say that 250 years are an important anniversary, and the best present was to have our commercial partners, distributors, the journalists coming from all over the world with long journeys, and I am really very moved by this. I know that you want to give your greetings to them. We need to have the whole world in our mind, keep it in our mind. And this morning there was an extraordinary event, 70 years of Amarone, which were talked about to the tip-top of the international press. This is something that we are very proud of, because I think that very few wines in the world are so old, and a history to be discovered, because it is not so to be taken for granted that there are some special years for Amarone to be discovered. So I would like to thank all the people who came here, and I have here a list of all the people. Well, let's see all the countries that are represented. We have Estonia, Iceland, Sweden, United Kingdom, Spain, Portugal, Cyprus, Malta, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, Romania, Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Japan, China, US, Canada, Panama, Uruguay, Dominican Republic, Brazil, Venezuela, and the Cayman Islands. I cannot believe the Cayman Islands are represented today. The Cayman Islands, incredible. Well, congratulations. By the way, this travel around the world was made by Giacomo, and there are some pictures that show Giacomo having a lot of fun. Well, it is a very tough job, but somebody has to do it here. Yes. Well, 2 very intense months of journeys, of meetings. I understand how difficult it was, how tough it was. 2 months rich in satisfactions, because as a Boscaini family member, I had the possibility, the chance of sharing our values, our wines, our histories, and all of our importers. I want to thank them once again, because they share with us every value, and they represented us, and they welcomed us very much. They organized dinners and meetings with the press. But you wanted to take something back from these journeys. Well, the most important time of our celebrations abroad was the opening of the legendary Vaio dei Masi in 1907, and we brought home the 5 liters that we opened abroad, all the bottles that were signed. Some of them are still coming, others have been brought home. Well, this is coming from Amsterdam, for example. Well, you have to tell us about this special Amarone for the anniversary. Well, I am the Boscaini member who had the chance of drinking it on more than one occasion. Well, he is repeating this, that he had a lot of fun. He wants to say it once more. Okay, I still need to know it better. I need to discover. I understand you want to drink it once again around the world. It has. It is very deep wine. It changes in the glass, and it continues to change. And I thank Sergio and Sandro, who 25 years ago were smart enough to keep the best year ever of Amarone, 1997. The raisioning process took 4 months from the grapes coming from Torbe, as we saw before, and then 4 years of refining in the casks, and then Sandro and Sergio decided to keep the wine, not to bottle it then, but to keep it in a steel container for all of these years. And now, for this very smart decision, we can enjoy it. Okay, congratulations indeed. So we are now getting close to the final greetings of this evening. I want Sandro, Bruno, and Mario to join me again, the 3 patriarchs of the family. A big round of applause to welcome them once again to the stage. Sandro, Bruno, and Mario enjoy this round of applause as the 𝐈𝐚𝐬𝐻𝐬 family. Alessandra and Giacomo disappeared. Where did they go? They left the stage. They must have gone somewhere. Here they are. Well, they're always unbottling. I think it is the time for a toast. Let's open up our Vaio de Masi 1997. What is it like? We are all curious. This is a rhetoric question, really. Well, abroad, I always said that really the cork left. It's a state, but it is now too common. It is very good. Now it is a time for a toast. Glasses are being filled. Sandro, Mario, and Bruno go to the center of the stage because now the glasses of wine are coming. But here we have the extended family, our collaborators, more than 170. We have some reference people who can represent, like Mr. Girotto, whom we have already met, the managing director, and Mrs. Lidia Corso, head of HR, Mrs. Corso, the head of the technical matters, Mr. Andrea Valcin, and last but not least, because we have to thank him and also give him a big round of applause, the head of communications, Mrs. Cristina Valenza, who is joining us to the stage, who has the credit of having transformed a yard into a welcoming location for this important event. So there is a toast because the glasses have really come, but unfortunately I am working. I cannot drink this glass of wine. You will excuse me for that. Well, Andrea, he did magic, some magic to keep this wine fresh. He did something that he didn't tell us at that time, because I told him he was spoiling the possibility of having 1 year of wine every 10 years instead of 25. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We started from a great year, as we said before, an exceptional product because the land was able to produce this nectar, as you are going to taste later on. This is something unique because it explains exactly what it means to have a mature and long-lasting Amarone. I joined the company in 2002, and I found it in a cask, and then it was transferred into a container and kept over time until a few years ago when we decided to bottle it up and say what it means to have a raisioning process, to have a full structured wine, a great product like Vaio de Masi. Thank you very much, Mr. Valcin. Now, for a real toast, you already tasted the wine, you can give your glasses back, because for the grand finale we want the other family members like Raffaele, Marcello, Vita and Vittoria, and Giacomo and Alessandra, and Dario, Matilde, the small Giulio, and Sandro, who is the 9th generation of the family. Please join us on the stage, because it is your time. Just we shall take an extraordinary family picture, the youngest at the front, the oldest at the back. Well, thank you very much, and a big round of applause once again. Well, okay, Sandro is going through a moment of shyness, but he's coming. A task force started to recover the 9th generation of the family. Sandro, here he comes. That's very nice. Sandro, 9th generation of the family. What a nice boy. You're all here, and so cheers. Long live Masi, the Boscaini family, and Sandro. Mr. Chairman, come here, because 250 years are here. Now you have to find something else for the 251st anniversary. Well, first of all, we have to have a celebration for this particular location when it is finished. We had so many people who worked very hard and made the impossible become possible, to make the two most important parts accessible. And of course, we are going to have the celebration for this location, and of course, the 42nd award, 42 years of awards. And I would like to thank Alessandro. We listen to him every morning at 9 and 11 a.m. And it is an honor. Thank you. He came to us for this event. Okay, thank you very much to all of you, and enjoy your evening.